All right, welcome to another episode of the WaterBearBrigade. Today we have a special guest, Hannah Wallen from the Honey Bat Radio.
Hello.
So, tell us what's been going on in Twitter lately.
Well, apparently I'm shadow banned, and it's hard to tell the reason why because there isn't. I actually this has been like the least active I've been on Twitter in the last year. So the only things that have been really going on is that I announced a meetup, and I've been tweeting videos from the First International Men's Issues Conference, and I tweeted one of Mad Cat's videos, and I tweeted a joke. So, it may be because I mentioned Black Lives Matter. It may be because I tweeted the videos from the conference, or it may be because this is when the change in the exposure of my tweets actually hits. It may be because I announced a meetup in the Dayton area.
I am very interested in seeing that meetup.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about doing it. It's the first time I've actually done anything like this. Normally, I don't organize stuff. I just go to stuff. So we'll see how this pans out. Um, I've got a page for it up on my blog on breakingtheglasses.blogspot.com. And if you go there, it'll give you the details on how to RSVP and what I'm doing, because we have had threats to other meetups. Is I'm giving the information on where we're going to meet up just to people who RSVP. So if you want to get the information, you have to either email me or message me on the Facebook page, which is linked on the blog post.
Okay, so this meetup, can you tell us about it?
Yeah, it's just basically going to be a gathering. It's going to be a daytime thing, so it'll start at noon, and it'll actually be over by officially over by 9 o'clock. There are things to do nearby if people want to continue to hang out. There's hotels to stay at nearby if people want to stay the night before and the night after. So there will be places to go and things to do. But as far as the venue itself, what I've chosen for the venue, there's two places. The first one closes at 5 p.m. and the second one closes at 9 p.m. So that can give you an idea of what we're doing. It'll be something that you could bring your kids to, but you will still be able to get alcohol at the second venue, just not a wide variety. I guess that's basically about all the information that I really want to disclose without an RSVP from people. Oh gosh, it looks like I've lost my host. Are you still there, Karn? It looks like I've lost my host. So, I guess I'm not the only one having technical difficulties today. The only other thing I can talk about with respect to Twitter is I know I'm not the only one that's been experiencing this shadow ban thing. This is something that has been occurring with several other people. There is an article about Breitbart, or about it in Breitbart. And let me see if I can find the title. The title on that article in Breitbart is Twitter banning, or Twitter shadow banning real and happening. According to Google, it's real and happening every day, says inside source. And Breitbart, the Breitbart article actually written by Milo, and this is clear back in February, so this has been going on for a while. This explains several different people who have been shadow banned. And it actually mentions different names for it. And among the other users that are mentioned in the article are Vox Day, Daddy Warpig, Ricky Vaughn, Mark Kern, Mercedes. So a lot of people have been reporting that their tweets are not appearing in the timeline. So it's not just me, but mine's kind of weird because not only are the tweets not appearing in my timeline or in people's timelines, they're also not appearing in conversation. So it looks like people are tweeting at themselves. And you're back.
Yes, I am. Oh my. Okay, so here's what happened. A few months ago, someone broke into my house and found out that I was recording them, so I could report it to the police and try to destroy my computer. Um, They ripped out all the guts, stole the hard drive, but I was live streaming. The interesting thing is, for some reason, the Honey Badger Radio is the only one that comes up as a customer, and it's one person in my Google circle. So that's what I have to broadcast to.
Okay.
So Allison Demon may have seen a whole bunch of 8-hour videos in the thing, and it's just that's pretty much what it is. Well, I'm a better repair technician than he was a destroyer, so I managed to get the computer up and running. But every so often, if I so much as touch my computer, the thing automatically shuts off the HDMI, in which case I have to restart the computer all over again. It's a nightmare, but it's the only system I have up and running at the moment.
And here I thought I brought the Honey Badger technical difficulties curse with me. The curse of Google.
No. This has been going on for quite some time now. It's a really pain in the ass when you get really far into civilizations and then you have no save.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Yeah, and it takes forever. I don't know what it is, but there's a glitch whenever I bomb a submarine. It takes like 10 minutes for it to bomb that one submarine and finally go back to its home base.
That's funny.
Okay, so
it's kind of like right when you're talking about things like shadow banning and meetups and Gamergate, and all of a sudden the host disappears, the computer shuts down. It just feels weird. It's like you want to not be paranoid, but it feels like you should be paranoid. So it's good to have an explanation about that, especially like with the listeners. Here we are talking about shadow banning, and what happens? Part of the show goes off the air.
well, at least it's YouTube and not Twitter.
Yeah, and at least there was an explanation for it this time, and it wasn't yet another shutdown of yet another attack on speech.
Yeah. Although they're still trying that on YouTube too, so there's that.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to put this the breaking the glass. Hold on, is this the mix? Okay, the mixed meetup. All right. So
Yeah, mix up meetup, because this isn't just for Gamergaters, and it isn't just for MRAs. It isn't just for Honey Badger fans. This is for whoever knows me and is interested in meeting up, just chit chatting, hanging around. There'll be video games. There'll be things to drink. There'll be food. So just a nice get together, basically.
I thought the mix-up part was because you originally mixed up the 13th with the 15th.
No, but I did do that. I did make that mistake.
Yeah, so it's on the 13th of August, everyone, not the 15th for anyone who may have seen the original one.
Yeah, it's Saturday.
And Bam Bam says, I blame the white patriarchy.
The white patriarchy. There we go. Of course, we could blame Sarkeesian since she's apparently the one that hates honey badgers and is on
Really?
trust and safety. But yeah, she's not pleased with any of us. But I haven't been mentioning her. I haven't been dealing with her at all. I haven't been doing anything to her. The last interaction I had with her was over my article about her, her having that big murdergasm over the shooting, the Washington high school shooting, Washington State.
Right.
I can't remember what the name of the high school was, but that's been months and months ago. To be honest, the only feminists I've directly interacted with recently that have any pull at all are Big Red, who I retweeted a huge portion of her conversation with Danny Boy from A Voice for Men. And then also I've been mentioning Mary Koss in conjunction with Mary Koss's research. But I don't think that should bother her because it is her research. You know, I'm talking about her research. So if she's bothered by people talking about her research, maybe she shouldn't have put herself out there in the first place, right?
Anita equals Godzilla.
Yeah, Anita Zilla. Well, that's a scary thought.
That's okay. We can always get a vampire robot Nazi who's also a zombie, who's also Chuck Norris to take her out.
There we go.
For other Philip DeFranco fans out there, there you go.
Then just the company.
All right. Okay. So from my experience, I kept trying to. I kept tweeting with Hannah on Twitter, and I noticed that even when you click on a comment in Twitter, what happens is it'll show you the comments below, and sometimes the comments above, right? So it'll be like in the middle of the screen, and then it'll show you what it's responding to. None of my comments were showing any conversation with Hannah at all. Yeah, it was like sometimes she'd be in the stream, and then sometimes it's only in the stream if she replies to my comment, and nothing was showing up in the notifications. When at first, this started like what, 4 or 5 hours ago?
Yep.
Okay, she was getting replies from people saying you're not showing up in my stream, and when I say stream, I mean your Twitter stream, as in like things keep coming down, or like how many comments have been made. There's a blue number at the top. You click on that, and then it'll scroll all the comments down. I don't know how to make that actually rotate anymore. I used to have it so that like a comment was made, and then another comment would show without me having to click that number, and I don't know how to change that. I will admit I am not the most Twitter savvy. It took me forever to find like how to find a tweet I made a year ago.
Yeah, I depends on like there's some things I'm good at and some things I'm actually not up on myself. I can look at my analytics and everything, and I can get at least an idea of what's going on with my numbers and everything. But there's looking for old tweets. If it's beyond the number that Twitter usually keeps track of, I have a rough time finding it myself.
I found out how to do that. That's how I was able to bring up that person who claimed that stare rape was a thing and that it really harms women, and I can't say what does or doesn't harm someone. I'm like, no, it's just someone looking at you. There's no metaphysics there. And it's funny because I had a conversation with someone saying that feminism is a religion because I mentioned the atheism plus debacle. And I'm like, no, they believe in supernatural things like patriarchy, stare rape, which used to be referred to as the male gaze, but I guess that sounds too sexist, so they have to go with stare rape, which sounds gender neutral, but they're only talking about when men do it.
Well, there was an evolution to the male gaze too. That originally was a feminist description of a certain way of filming things to sort of look at the female in a film from the perspective of a male lead or a male bad guy, and like it was supposed to. Yeah, it was supposed to basically communicate, that this guy has got nefarious plans, and this is what he sees, and this angle of view is to communicate.
He's wearing black, and he's going to tie her to a train rack.
Yeah, basically, this angle of view is supposed to make the viewer more sympathetic to the woman's innocence and her plight, and more fearful of the bad guy and so on. And that was somehow supposed to be misogynistic because, sympathy for women is terrible.
Yeah. Unless you're Anita Sarkeesian.
Yes. Sympathy for women is a bad thing unless a feminist is trying to use it to make money.
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting, though, like, because I've been at this for hours trying to figure out ways around this. I actually thought about blocking you and then unblocking you and seeing if that would do anything, but then that might have created even more problems.
Well, it would unfollow you.
Yeah, you would unfollow me automatically.
Follow you, but aside from that, it shouldn't do anything. I have to suspect.
Well, hold on. Well, if we're going to go on what should happen, we wouldn't even have a problem right now.
Yeah.
So, okay, so about the meetup, I'm very interested in this meetup. For me, for those of you who don't know, it's going to take me about 3.5 to 4 hours to get all the way out to Dayton. Someone asked me if I could pick them up, and it's funny because they live like 5 minutes away from you, and I'm like,
that's funny. I didn't even know there was anybody that close. Besides Shannon, you know, but Shannon, liberal lunacy, she lives close to me.
Okay.
We live in adjoining communities.
She tweeted me her address so I could get an idea, and I'm like, well, if I'm not carpooling with anyone, because hell or high water, I'm going to go there. Now I don't know if I'm bringing anyone yet, which is why I haven't RSVP'd. I might be bringing my biological mother.
Oh, cool.
I was actually thinking of bringing I was actually thinking of bringing, because she has a car with range, my intersectional feminist friend who goes to church with me.
That would have been an interesting. We could have had one protester. You bring her with a sign and just tell her to stand outside and yell things. It might not go over too well at the first venue, though. They might not tolerate protesters at that particular location.
I was just going to shove her your way and say, educate.
Educate. That'd be a fun. Do you have Jell-O planned for that, or should I?
No, but I have a ring and lots of cream corn, and it's just going to turn bad, right?
There we go. That works.
Maybe an episode out of Stripes.
Yeah, now, if you fill it with creamed corn, I might eat that.
We're in Ohio. We have to. And me and her have had some interesting conversations.
I imagine.
One of the most interesting, and she's like, I don't care if a guy is blue balling, right? If she says no, then it's rape. I'm like, wait, so you don't care? Okay, so first of all, when a woman blue balls a guy, I'm like, so it's actually literally sexual assault. So I'm like, so you don't care if a woman sexually assaults a guy, but you want to call it rape if she keeps on teasing him, right, giving him mixed messages about what she wants and doesn't want, and then he responds in a way she claims she didn't expect? That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, if she has sex with him and doesn't, if she's actively participating and doesn't say, I don't want to do this, or anything like that, then no, it's not. If
she's of the enthusiastic consent group.
Well, that's fine. Then she should never expect sex from a guy if she doesn't get out her pom-poms and convince him that she desperately wants his body.
No, those pom-poms are a different color than the rape pom-poms.
Yes.
For the audience. I love that episode. I keep watching it.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
It's funny because the other thing I put up on Twitter today was another episode 104. They're both 104, and they're both talking. Yeah, so I thought that was.
Yeah, well, everything Mike does is genius. I mean, if he sneezed, genius would come out. I don't think he can do anything that's not genius.
I don't know if he just swallowed a dictionary whole, but there are times where he is talking about things even so beyond my level. I'm like, what the hell is he saying? I don't even understand the string of words he's using. I'm like, shit. I'm like, is this because I'm uneducated, or because one day you guys were talking about things that are esoteric, and I'm like, esoteric? Yeah, I don't know the meaning of the word. Dictionary.com. Still don't get
it. He's very, very well spoken. That is true. But and I could definitely sing Dr. Random McCam's praises all day long. So
okay, was it you and Dr. Rammerkamp? You guys sang some songs together.
No, that wasn't me.
That was
I guarantee you, none of you guys have ever heard me sing. I don't sing in public much, especially not when I'm sober.
Well, apparently, Dr. Rammerkamp doesn't talk much until he's drunk. That was in his video that he posted today, so I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, he can be a little shy on the shows and everything, but that's okay.
So on the meetup side, for anyone who's interested, who's in Ohio, now I don't give out my personal information much. I say I'm within the Cleveland area-ish, right? So if anyone is between here and Dayton, contact me on Twitter or on YouTube, and let me know if you want, like, if you're interested in carpooling at all. I tried to talk to one person who was interested in going, and they said they probably wouldn't be able to go. So I may be going on. I might have to rent a car, and the reason I have to rent a car, for those of you who don't know, I own an all-electric vehicle, and there are not enough supercharging stations between where I live and Dayton.
Yeah, at least not yet.
And I am working on that video where the EPA sent me a letter saying I had to get my car e-checked.
Yes, that I think is hilarious. Get your environmentally safe car e-checked.
It says zero emission. Okay, so here's the story for those who don't know. This is great. You're going to love this. Okay, so we're sitting there in our car. First thing I did is I showed the sign of the e-check sign, and then I showed the letter on the camera, right, of what it said and its instructions. And then I drove around and I got in line at the e-check, and there's 3 lanes there. And she waves us up, and we're talking for a while. And there's actually another feminist friend I have who's my editor for some of the videos that are not the Google Hangouts. And she was holding the camcorder while I was talking to them. And then I mentioned to them, I figured I should I didn't think about saying this at first, but in the middle of the conversation, I mentioned that we were recording. I believe because they are still paid by Ohio tax laws, they are required to be transparent's not the word. There's another word for it that I can't think of at the moment. But anyway, I think legally I still could have recorded, but they told me that it was a private business and that I was not allowed to record. I don't think that's accurate, but out of respect, I shut it off anyways. Then what happened was they said, "Is this a hybrid?" I said, "No, it's an all-electric." Meanwhile, on the side of the vehicle, it says zero emission. Zero. That's the first word. Like, they did not catch on to that. I said, "No, this is an all-electric car." I had to say that a couple of times. So then 20 minutes later, she comes out and says, "Okay, where's your gas tank?" I said, "It's an all-electric car. There isn't a gas tank." Then she leaves for another 20 minutes. Comes out, she does a walk around the car. She goes, "Nope, don't have one of those either." She was looking for the exhaust pipe. There is no exhaust pipe.
What did she think was going to be creating the exhaust?
I don't know, but it gets even better because 20 minutes later, she comes out and says, "How many cylinders does this have?"
What did she think cylinders were going to be used for?
So I said, "I don't know. Maybe the information is in the inside." So I pop the hood, and I get out of the car, and we're standing there looking at it, and I go, "This is an electric motor. It doesn't have any cylinders." And then we're looking on the inside for a few minutes before I say that. And she goes, "Oh, right." So then she leaves for like a little bit while, and then she says, "Okay, did you get this letter?" Blah blah blah. I said, "Yeah, I have it right here." And she goes, "Well, here's where you're supposed to call," and blah blah blah, and then they'll give you a permanent waiver, right? So I'll never need to get the e-check again. Actually, it took me for a while. It took me like the day that it was due, right, for me to finally contact them and them to get all this stuff through. I was having a problem with my phone, which, for those of you who don't know, is Skype, but like I got it solved that day.
You are just too modern. You're too modern for the government. The government does not know how to deal with modern people who use modern technology. You shitlord.
Hell yeah.
You modern misogynistic shitlord. Your problem with your phone was because it's Skype. I love it.
Well, no, the problem with my phone being Skype was like, I don't know what there's a glitch in Skype, right? So when I typed in the number and I hit enter, right? It didn't matter what number I entered after that. It kept calling that same number.
Oh, yay.
So that was my issue. So the issue was actually with Skype, not with the EPA's phone system. That was all me. So I'll take the full blame on that one.
It's still funny because if you'd have been using an old-fashioned phone, a mobile phone or a landline or something like that, you wouldn't have had that problem.
Unless it was the rotary dial one.
Oh, God.
Which I still don't know how to use. I think I might.
Rotary dial ones?
Yeah, because I've never been able to figure that out. Like, probably not. But they did when I was a kid. Everybody else had like touchtone except for like, I don't know, 1 or 2 people. And I'm like, I don't know how to use
I think we still had one when I was in high school.
No.
Maybe, well, no, we replaced it. I'm pretty sure we replaced it by the time I moved out of my parents' house. But when I was in high school, I'm pretty sure we still had a rotary. And if you had problems getting it to, like, if you tapped the cradle the right number of times really fast, you could do the numbers that way too.
Oh, I had an interesting way of. I needed to call the IRS because they wanted me to pay a lot of money towards them, and that I'm not going to go into today. But I tried to call them, and they didn't have an operator number. They just had press 1 for this, press 2 for this, press 3 for this, press 4 for that, and none of it was what I needed. So
and none of it goes to a person.
And hitting 0 did nothing, right? So what I did is I slammed my hand all over the phone for a few minutes, and then I got an operator.
I see. I had that problem with the IRS a while back. Because we had a mistake on our taxes a couple of years ago, and my original thought was the mistake went one way, but it turned out to actually be in our favor. And so I'm like going back and forth. They can get a hold of you just fine when they think you owe them money.
Oh, I know.
But when when you're calling to correct that, or if they owe you money, you can't get a hold of the IRS. All you can do is go through menu after menu after menu. You cannot there are no human beings at the IRS, only phone menus.
Well, to be fair, they have really cut down the budget and the personnel who work at the IRS.
Yes, to 0. There are 0 people working at the IRS.
Well,
They're all machines now. That's it. That's all there is.
Well, some of them are organic machines, and some of them aren't.
Yeah.
But
the machines do not answer the phones.
Although that does remind me of one of my favorite movies, Stranger Than Fiction. The IRS man, he goes, "Are you a member of an anarchist group?" She goes, "Anarchists get together and at a specific time and place?" "Yeah, I guess they organize. Isn't that counterproductive to being an anarchist?" I don't know. It's like, really? I love that line because he just,
yeah,
that was a great movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Hannah Wallen has started a new account. I don't know if you cover that because I bleeped out for a minute. I'm going to link both. I'm going to have to edit this later because I went back into my YouTube channel to try to put like all these links down, and it went away for some reason. So I'm going to have to edit this after we sign off, and edit the video once it's uploaded to YouTube. But about 5 minutes after it's uploaded to YouTube, I will put both of Hannah's Twitter accounts into the down below, as well as the Breaking the Glass for the thing out in Dayton. And there is no specific meetup place yet.
Yeah, I'm not making it public yet where we're gonna start out and where we're gonna end up. What I will do is when people RSVP this week, I will start sending that information out to people so they know what to plan for, and and people who are going to stay in hotels will be able to get their hotel room and everything. And then when it's close to the meetup, I will post on. There's a Facebook page. The Facebook page is also linked on the blog. I will post the location of the start of the meetup.
Okay.
On both of those places.
What about people who are not on Facebook?
Well, I'm going to also post it on the blog, and I will tweet it. Anybody who RSVPs will get that information as well. Anyone who RSVPs can get all of the information. And then, so if people don't RSVP and then at the last minute they have a change of plans and they can actually come down when they didn't think they were going to be able to or something, there'll still be the opportunity to get that information. It's just that anybody who wants to cause trouble isn't going to have the opportunity to get that information until it's too late. So.
Right. Right. Okay. So that. All right. So there's definitely a grapevine there.
Yep. And I will say, the first location that we're going to, it would be very, very ill-advised for anyone to cause trouble there anyway.
Unless I get the plans changed, because I do have my one of my plans to changing the first venue.
Yeah, I know. Well, we can discuss that later, but the main two venues are still going to be
the main two venues. Yeah.
And like I said, and actually the one that we were discussing is close enough to the second one, or the first one, I mean, that it would still be very ill-advised for anyone to cause trouble at that location.
Right. Okay. So, I was going to say something. I forgot it twice already. I hate those mind blanks, don't you?
Yes, I do. I get that all the time.
Yeah.
Could it have been about the Twitter thing?
Yeah, it was about the Twitter thing, but it was shoot. I've completely lost it. It is completely out of my head now. Damn.
Well, we were talking about posting both Twitter accounts.
Right.
And I will say I'm going to keep the old account. I'm going to find out if it can get restored, because I have like 5,000 followers, something like that.
Wow. Yeah, you have a lot of followers.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
my message to Twitter is fuck you. Seriously, yeah. Twitter, fuck you. You create a platform for people to have discussion. And you know what? Same thing with YouTube. Fuck you, YouTube, and fuck you, Twitter. Because you both have started up these big open forums. You both talk about how you want open discussion and fairness and all this other shit, right? And then you block a whole bunch of tubers. You demonetize a lot of people's videos. You block people from your services, right? Because you don't like what they say. Now, are you for open discussion or not? Because you can't do that and be for open discussion at the same time. And for the shadow ban, I'm sorry, but it's clear as hell that you've been targeting certain people. And it's starting to piss me off.
Yeah, that's one that's, and that's not really a new thing to me, actually, because...
Oh, that reminds me. Yeah, now I thought of what it was. Okay, so the lotto was 508 million for the Mega Millions recently, and I started a big pool in order to try and win that. Had I won that, I would have donated a lot of money to the Honey Badgers to open up in Cleveland.
There we go. To open up in Cleveland, huh?
Yeah, to have a men's conference kind of thing.
Oh, that'd be
like
cool.
a Badger meeting or something like that. Pretty much what you're doing in Dayton right now, more or less. But for like all the Honey Badgers.
Yeah, this one's probably because everybody's just getting back from London.
Yeah.
This is probably going to be a very small thing, and I don't think that any of the other Honey Badgers are going to actually be able to make the trip, because they're probably all going to be wiped out. So I'll be pleasantly surprised if any of them show up. But I don't know. I haven't heard anything from Anna Cherry, but as far as yes or no on that, but she's moving been moving, so that's unlikely too.
Didn't she get like didn't Twitter like block her or something?
Yeah, actually Twitter did. Twitter had her suspended. Apparently Kim Kardashian's ass is okay. It's kosher. And a lot of the various porn stars that show their asses, that's kosher. The accounts that say 18 plus that send you messages, private messages, once you follow them back. They're kosher. They can show their ass, but
I've seen them
Honey
show a lot more
Badger-
than their ass.
yeah, honey badger ass is porn. Pornographic. It's pornographic for Anna Cherry to have a picture of herself nude from behind. Just the picture, not
And
doing
then- and
anything,
then,
no sex taking place, no nothing.
And in solidarity, let's see. I think her name is
Shannon
Audrey.
Liberty Lunacy.
Audrey. She also. Let's see if I got the name right.
You're talking about liberal lunacy, right, Shannon?
No.
No?
No. Well, that might be. Because I think Mara Frigoris won.
Okay, that one is
Audrey.
Okay.
No, I'm pretty sure you know her. Yeah, it's.
I didn't see her do it, but I saw Shannon's post.
She has her other account that does it.
Okay.
Yeah, she's from Northern Ireland. I'm not giving away information. This is on her Twitter profile. I have a lot of conversations with her, mostly of a sexual reference because I make a lot of sex jokes because they're the easiest, they're the funniest.
Best kind.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, the number one saying I have is whenever there's so most people will say to summate a lot of things all at once, they'll just say reasons, right?
Yeah.
My default answer to any basically stupid question or question that they should be automatically aware of or self-answering, my go-to is because I have a huge penis.
There we go.
And then they usually laugh at me, and then I tell them something like, "Oh yeah, last time I got an erection, I almost knocked the moon out of orbit." With Anton Hill, the running joke there is that his penis is incredibly tiny. It's nano-sized. People ask me, how do I know? And the answer to that one is because his wife talks in her sleep.
Oh, that's bad.
I'm on his show
Good
almost
one.
every week. And for those who do you know what that's from?
No.
That's from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Okay.
Remember the Nazi woman that Indiana Jones slept with?
Yeah.
And he goes, how did you know she was a Nazi? She talks in her sleep.
Yeah.
So I use that with him. So yeah, I like using those kind of jokes.
Well,
Okay.
those are good. They're good icebreakers.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people that I've talked to that want to go, but they can't for one reason or another. If I oh man, it's going to be a nightmare driving down there because I do not do good driving outside of my local area. So I'm definitely going to need to get a GPS. And I don't know if you've ever have you ever driven around Akron?
A little. It's not the main area where I worked, but I did photograph some weddings out that direction. And yeah, it can be kind of a nightmare driving around Columbus at all, driving south from that area. Yeah.
Oh, that's another thing I wanted to mention. Okay, so my church had this youth group thing, right? And the meetup, young adult group from my church. We met up in Columbus this year. And when they set out, they set out a covenant, right, for all the members.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things they did is said, you have to have enthusiastic consent. Now, in that case, I was totally for it because you have a lot of people who are meeting for the first time. You have a lot of culture classes because everyone's from a different area of Ohio. And for those of you who don't know, Ohio is weirdly demographic. We have some very liberal areas. We have some very conservative areas. We have some a whole mixed match of bad, all over the political spectrum, cultural spectrum, you name it.
Yes, a lot of it changes depending on whether you're in an urban area or a rural area too. You know, like a lot of the urban areas, you'll find there is a much more left-wing liberal demographic, and then you get into the rural areas and you'll find a lot more right-wing. and
Well,
there can be quite a clash there too.
I noticed in
white, though.
Cincinnati. Hold on, in Cincinnati, there's a huge right-wing.
Yeah, and Cincinnati's a little different. Cincinnati's different all around. I mean, Jerry Springer was once the mayor of Cincinnati.
Yep.
So,
the reason he didn't get reelected is because he paid a hooker with a check and then canceled the check.
yeah, and it bounced and he got caught.
Oh, did it bounce? I heard he just canceled it.
Yeah, well, when you cancel a check and someone tries to cash it, it bounces.
Right. My reality check bounces all the time.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't write those. But
yeah, Ohio's a real weird place. It's funny because I was just watching a show yesterday called Roadies, and that like someone said Cincinnati on their bus, and they had to drive 100 miles out in a random direction, and then when they got to the 100-mile mark, they had to run out and find 11 balloons and 11 eggs.
Oh gosh!
And they had to destroy all 11 eggs. And they had to release the 11 balloons into the air to break the curse. Because apparently, like there was a thing with the WHO in like '79, and like the guy who is the head nurse in Code Black, I think it's Code Black. That's a new TV show. It has one season so far. Anyway, he's also in there. He was in Yes Man. He was the guy on the ledge. That same actor.
Okay. Yeah. See, I haven't seen Code Black because like a lot of new TV shows, I just haven't seen. I don't watch much TV, but
now is it because you don't have cable or something?
Actually, we do now. Oddly enough, it was cheaper to get internet with cable than it was to get internet without cable.
Weird.
But we only have cable by accident because we really don't. Because like anything that you want to watch, anything that you hear about that's new and everything, it's on the internet a day later. Most not cable companies, but most networks actually put their stuff up on their websites, at least the ones that have good stuff. And there isn't really a whole lot that they don't do that I'm really interested in seeing. So, you know, I don't watch a lot of television that's newer. And then when I'm working at night, you know, most of the channels at night have crap on, but there's a couple of channels that have old television shows and old movies and stuff. And that's what I watch.
You can watch every episode of Night Court from YouTube.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I can't afford cable. I've never been able to afford cable. I don't make enough. And people are like, well, you own a house. Well, yeah, I own a house because it's actually cheaper than rent.
Yeah.
My mortgage is cheaper than my rent. But
yeah, I would imagine
I go to a place, and there's nothing I don't watch that I don't want to. Right? Or that I want to. Yeah, I think I've worded that right. Anyway, yeah, so if there's something I want to watch, I watch it. There's nothing stopping me. I have the internet. I go to a place called primewire.ag, and I watch any movie, any TV show, right? And I thought it was funny because one day I'm hearing Karen Strong saying, berating someone for downloading a TV show or a movie illegally. And she's like, you think they made that so you could just steal it from them? And blah. I'm like, I don't have the money. I just don't. Being a cheap bastard is the only way I've managed to survive.
Well, most of that stuff, you don't actually have to download it to watch it. Like South Park, they've got their own website. They've got, you know.
They did.
So
they did, but they switched it over and, like, they shut off most of their episodes.
Yeah.
For the new season. So it's like.
That kind of sucks. And see, now I do get to see their stuff at my workplace. So I haven't been to their website in a while. But, a lot of places you do have to watch ads, to see it. Or
I'll see if they put it up like that. I watch
ads.
I'd rather watch one with ads than one without. But when it keeps when the browser keeps shutting off, and then I've got to start from the beginning, and then I got to move it to the middle to where I last ended, and then they show me 4, 6 ads. I'm like, and then it just keeps doing ads and ads. I'm like, no, I'm done. Screw this. It's too much. I'm going to go stream it off online. Now, streaming it isn't technically illegal, but if you download it into an actual file, that becomes illegal because you're making a copy of it.
Yeah, but there are, for people whose computers do not try to shut down all the time, there's Hulu, there's Vio, there's freetv.com. A lot of those sites, what you're getting isn't necessarily somebody stealing it. Instead, you're going to their network site. You're getting what they've put up, on their own. And like I said, a lot of times you do have to watch ads, but you would have had to watch ads if you had cable too. The only difference is you don't have to pay to watch ads on the internet.
You also don't have to wait. And what I like about Hulu is it has several shows that I really like. That's original content, like The Awesomes. There's Deadbeat. There's what's that show called? I think it's called The Wrong Boys or something. That's a UK show.
Okay.
And there's one more that's just the one up in Canada. Forget About It.
Forget About It. I haven't, but I have heard that. I've heard that one discussed.
Yeah, they're like, we're in Regina, Saskatchewan. Regina, whatever. It's like, oh, forget it.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing for me with this is, my husband and I, since we got together, there's 2 things we've never done with respect to utilities that most people were used to, back in our parents' day. And one of them was we've never bought a landline. We've never had a landline installed. So we've never had like long distance telephone bills or anything like that to worry about. And we've never had cable installed so that we could watch television. Like the only thing that we've ever had it for is internet. And now we've got the capability of watching television because it was cheaper to get it that way than to have it excluded.
That is a really weird package. I've never heard of that.
It actually they would have had to do something special because they didn't really offer a package without a cable TV plan.
Who did you go with, if you don't mind me asking?
It's Time Warner. They didn't offer anything without for what we were doing. We wanted to have wireless, and we wanted to have.
For those of you who are going to get internet or whatever, planning about it or thinking about it or whatever, what I did is I didn't go through Time Warner. I went through like Net Zero or something, and then it ended up being Time Warner, and it was actually cheaper than Time Warner's price.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I bet. I just looked around for deals. What I really wanted was this Linksys, right? There was like this Linksys or something along those lines that had like a green logo or whatever, and they offered the first 3 months free, and it was like really cheap. It was like $20 or something for really high-speed internet. It had this phenomenal deal.
And they're a subsidiary of Time Warner that actually uses Time Warner.
No. This is their own, but they didn't have it in my area. And I was like, no, you're kidding me. You're telling me I'm just out of the area. They're like, well, yeah, because it's DSL and AT&T has the monopoly in my area. And I'm like, those sons of...
Oh, that sucks.
I will never go back to AT&T. Never. From now, I will go to dial-up before I go back to AT&T.
Is dial-up still available?
Technically, yes.
Yes, it is. I guess you're right. Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, AOL actually, I think it was a few years ago. AOL, the only reason they made a profit at all was because people still think that in order to get the DSL, they also have to pay for the the dial-up.
That's funny.
So if it wasn't for those people who not realizing that you only needed one and not both of them, right? Like, they would have made a profit. They would have been in the hole. They broke even because of that.
Jeez. And they were the one that I think they were the first internet company that went unlimited. You know, back in the day when it used to cost you like $2.50 to check your email, you know, $2.50 a minute.
I don't know if they were the first, but they were the first to send everybody one of those AOL discs. And then they kept increasing the amount of hours, because at first it was like, I think, like 100 hours, right, to test it for a month within 30 days. And then it was like they added more hours than you were actually capable of using in a month, because there wasn't that many hours in a month.
Yep. But, you know, you could, if you had more than one computer in your house, perhaps it would mess. Well, no, because you wouldn't have more than one. You wouldn't be hitting more than one address. No, I don't know how they could do that. Maybe you get it from 2 or 3 houses. Use the same disk. It's the only thing I can think of.
Well, then you'd still have to have two modems and 2 landlines to plug into it.
Yeah.
And then you'd have to have 3 just to answer your phone. And half the time when you picked up the phone, you'd hear someone's conversation in the computer. Like, what? Yeah, dial-up was all sorts of wacky. And I remember downloading like games off of AOL's 25 top like game list. And I downloaded this one game, right? It gave you the basic shooters, the you know, your shotgun, Gatling gun, your rifle, like a whole bunch of, you know, and then your grenade launcher and whatnot. And you had a jetpack, and you could network with somebody else and play against them, but there was also monsters, right? That you played against the NPCs. And so I started using my jetpack, and all of a sudden, Led Zeppelin starts playing in the CD-ROM for some unknown reason. This is back in Windows 95. And that's like, it's Bark something? I forget, but it's like, and it was just perfect to every movement I made. It was just perfect music. And it was just a random event that started playing. So now every time I see a first-person shooter with a jetpack, that's the first thing that crams into my mind.
Think of that music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how it goes. I can't even repeat to you the tune, but it's like it still plays in my head.
That needs to go in a movie.
It should. Actually, they should do that in video games, but I don't know how much that would cost for them to get like a Led Zeppelin song put on it.
An arm and a leg.
Probably.
Actually.
But then when you see how much they're spending for the damn thing anyway, does it matter at that point?
Yeah, I don't know. But I do know that it's incredibly expensive to get like any kind of music that's well known into either a game or a movie or anything like that. And it used to be there was for smaller films, like if you were doing a wedding or something like that, there used to be a service that you could get songs from. And I can't think of the name of it, but you could get a license to put a piece in like a documentary, or to put a piece in a half-hour wedding video, and there would be a set of, well, these are at this price level and these are at this price level and so on. And it didn't have to be an arm and a leg. You didn't have to, but now you have to do each song individually, and it's all, it's totally different now.
Yeah, you just take up your iTunes and plug it right into the laptop, and there you go.
Well, as long as you don't get caught, you might be able to. The thing is, if you're doing something professionally, like I said with the wedding videos, or with a game or something like that, you get caught doing that, it's a jail sentence now, because anything over $3,000 is a jail sentence, and all of them are over $3,000.
Really?
And some of them will charge like $20,000 just to put their song in, in whatever it is that you're producing. So
in Futurama, they paid Sir Mix-a-Lot $10,000 for the. I like big butts and I cannot lie.
Yeah, you could
10
even
second.
Yeah, anything that's over, like, I guess sampling is 8 seconds is what it was. The court decided, and I think that was the Beastie Boys case. Might not have been. No, that's right. It was a Vanilla Ice case. It was Vanilla Ice case because he sampled Under Pressure. Um, but yeah, if it's over 8 seconds, you cannot use something like that. If you're making money, and that you get caught, it can be jail time. And you won't see people now if you're videographing, somebody's wedding. If you're taping someone's wedding and you're at the reception and there's a band and the band plays, I don't know, Sweet Home Alabama is a popular one around here that gets played. It was funny because we're in Ohio. But they play that, or you got a DJ and the DJ plays Pour Some Sugar on Me. Those, like, you don't have to edit that out because it was a song that was performed and you're getting video of the event. The song was performed at the event. But you wouldn't be able to download a better copy of that song and replace it so that it sounds better on the tape or on the video. Then you would be breaking the law.
Wow. And YouTube right now is even worse because of all these DMCA like claims and everything else.
Yeah, at least with the music people, it's legitimate copyright. Like if you take somebody's work where they put their blood, sweat, and tears into making that, it's legitimate for them to complain if you steal it. It's not legitimate for somebody to complain that you stole something that was yours. You create your own content, you create your own video, you come up with your own original ideas, your own thoughts, your own statements, and you make those on the video. And because you mention somebody or you talk about somebody or you're criticizing something that they said, they DMCA you to silence you. That's actually, and people need to start actually when they get DMCA'd like that, they need to start carrying out the threat that Karen made when well, we don't know who it was exactly, DMCA'd her as a dox attempt, where they were trying to get her address and everything. And she basically said, she was going to file charges because it's illegal to file a false DMCA. You're under oath. You're committing perjury when you file a false DMCA. People need to start actually filing charges.
Okay, so getting back to Twitter, you said that it could be an algorithm that just automatically blocked you or shadow banned you.
It could be an algorithm that automatically shadow bans me because I get a lot of false flags. Like anytime I post something that gets 10 or 15,000 organic views to it, I get a huge number of profile views. Especially if I get into an argument with a feminist, I get a huge number of profile views, but I don't get a huge amount of profile interaction. Usually, any other time I get a lot of profile views like that, I also get a lot of follows. But when I get, I'll get like 5 times the profile views under that circumstance, but I don't get 5 times the follows. And I have a very strong suspicion that those are instances where I am being subject to organized false reporting. And it seems like it's after those instances also, when I was having that problem of suspicious activity on Twitter and they would make me change my password and all that was happening, that sort of stopped in the last month. But now I'm shadow banned.
Well, my thing is that even if it is an algorithm, Twitter needs to update its shit so this doesn't happen, right?
Yeah, well, and if it is an algorithm, I might actually get unshadow banned. If it's not an algorithm, then they may not fix it. So
Could you tweet something on your one eye or script?
On my what?
On your original account. I'm trying to read this. This is kind of it says one eye or script at your original account.
Somebody in the chat asking if I would tweet something?
No, I'm asking for you to tweet to see if you're on shadow banned.
Oh, okay. Well, let me open up my original account back up here.
I've got 2 Twitter things up. I didn't know if you did or not, which is why I posted it in both of them.
Yeah, I had closed that window. Oh, I've got notifications. Well, that's good.
Yay.
Let's see.
I'm now
Oh,
being
this
followed by
tweet,
a
does it
patriarchy.
still look like I'm shadow banned?
Yeah, this has been going for on like
It's gonna
for
probably
5 hours already. This is ridiculous.
I expect this to not end in the same day that it happened, honestly, because it.
You think they're gonna wait until tomorrow? Oh,
Oh, it'll.
no, it did it. Does it look like I'm shadow banned?
Oh, you can actually see it in your feed.
Yes.
Good.
Okay, so it's in my feed. Let's see if the notification works.
All right. Hang on. You reply to it, and I will reply to you.
If I can stop making dumb typos.
Hey, I can't type anything without a
Yeah.
typo.
Yeah, most people think that I'm angry when I'm tweeting and stuff, or in YouTube conversations, and I'm like, no, I'm just fast. Being fast doesn't mean I'm angry.
So the Desert Fox says he favorited me and got a notification for the tweet. So I answered him and asked if he got a notification for the reply.
Okay, and I responded to the tweet too. You can see that. Welcome to YouTube tech support.
Let's see. So did you get a notification for the reply?
No. I got the little box on the side that says notification ? And it does not ring blue. Let me refresh, because sometimes
that takes a
YouTube,
second or two.
Yeah. And
yeah, no. Sometimes Twitter's slow.
No.
So it's still it showed for Desert Fox. Let's see what he says about. Well, Deception Prime can see me.
He can see you in the feed. Let's see if he can see in the notes.
The Desert Fox got a notification.
Okay. Let's see what my email said. Nope, doesn't show you up in the email, but I'm starting to get only half in my inbox. That might have something to do with the fact that I have over 13,000 unread inboxes.
Yeah, that might. Patriarchy Bear sees me.
Okay, and he followed me, so thank you, Patriarchy Bear, for following me. I may follow back. It depends on numbers. Right now, I'm following 156, and I have 326 followers. If one person follows me, it drives me nuts. 2 people follows me, I'm okay again.
So Nick says he's seeing me in his timeline. Desert Fox says he gets a notification, but not in his notification folder.
Yeah, so you're still shadow banned, but it's not as bad as it was. Yeah, so what you can see Hannah Wallen doing in her original account will vary, and it has been doing that all day. At first, I was seeing her in the feed, but not getting any notifications, and someone else was getting the exact opposite. Then after a while, I only saw her in the feed if she replied to a comment that I made.
Yeah, this is real weird. It seems like.
And again, when I click on, why am I doing this? I'm an idiot. Hold on. This is what I should have done. Okay, so let's not click on that because you see eternity. All right, do you see my Twitter account page?
Wait, am I looking at your screen or my screen? Okay, I see what you're doing. Okay. Actually, I see eternity.
Yeah, okay. So now I have a notification. Let's see who this is. This is Unvarnished. Hello, Unvarnished. We're looking at your like on Twitter. Yay! So yeah.
Yeah, so Desert Fox confirms what he's getting is the pop-up notification, but he's not getting
The same
his
thing I'm getting.
the notification in his. So it's like a semi-shadow ban, or it might be a glitch at this point. It's kind of hard to tell.
Oh, why wouldn't more people be having this glitch?
Well, maybe they are and they don't know it. So basically, if you've been having conversations with people and it seems like maybe they're ignoring you, that might be why.
Yeah, if this is a glitch, then I retract my fuck you to Twitter, because glitches happen. You constantly try to update and secure your website, and when things happen like that, I totally understand. But this seems like it's a very isolated incident. I have not had this problem with anybody else. I've never even seen this before.
Well, what bugs me about it is it wasn't just that originally. Originally, we had a problem of, like, if I was in a conversation and you click on your tweet in that conversation so that it shows the conversation thread, anybody that wasn't looking at it from my account couldn't see it. They couldn't see my tweets. They could see theirs, but they couldn't see mine.
So, what do you think about the NRC?
The what?
The Republican convention in Cleveland.
I actually have not seen any news on it today. I haven't been checking the news channels. So the only thing I've seen was that there was a militia that showed up with the idea of keeping people safe. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that was the most productive use of their time. A militia, yeah. Which, generally speaking, they're real good folks. They learn gun safety, and they learn a bit about defense and everything to be ready in case of an invasion, which is, unlikely.
Yeah.
But in this situation, they might have been a confounding factor instead.
Well, so there's two different groups. There's two different groups that oppose each other, that are protesting at the Republican convention that's in Cleveland right now. That's actually not happening that far away from me. Unfortunately, by the time I got home and sat down, Nero was in Cleveland. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I would like to see him give his speech or whatever. That would have been neat.
Of course he was there,
Well, I knew Trump was. I don't care for Trump. I'm not voting.
Well, yeah, but I mean, of course Nero would be there.
Yeah, I don't like.
Yiannopoulos will be there.
Well, I was actually wondering if he was going to call him Daddy in his speech, because he does it on Twitter, and I don't know if Trump actually follows him, because I haven't seen Trump say anything about Milo.
I'm betting he would keep it venue appropriate, just because, he's not on a college campus. He's not, where it's. I'll bet he would keep it venue.
No, but he did get an invite. He's not even an American, and he's speaking.
No. But I mean, he probably look at the crowd, see how the crowd gauge the potential response, and keep it venue appropriate. I think he's smart enough to do that.
Well, he showed up in a Make America Fabulous Again truck.
Yeah.
So, and he met with several fans, and I thought that was cool. I disagreed with him the last tweet, yesterday's tweet. He said something about something along the lines of, anyone who thinks shooting a cop is okay is scum, and I tweeted at him, clearly you've never dealt with a crooked or murderous cop, and I got a bunch of tweets on that.
I think anybody that thinks shooting a cop is a good idea is stupid.
Well, if they're trying to kill you and your life depends on it, I have seen that situation.
That's a more rare thing, and just the idea of, in general, shooting at cops is a bad idea. It's not. You're not going to win that fight. It's very rare for you to face one, in that situation. And even if you were dealing with You know, and if you're dealing with crooked cops who are trying to shoot you, you've gotten yourself into a position that's not something that usually happens where they're just, you know, pulling people over and shooting them. That's usually the corruption goes both ways.
There's a YouTube video where one cop is holding down this homeless man, and the other cop beats him to death. She beats him to death with her nightstick.
And there's a situation where, like I said, you're not facing just one.
No, but you're facing a situation where, in that situation, what's the only thing you can do? Because yelling, "Hey, stop that!" They tend to arrest you, and the guy still dies, right? Like,
but
okay,
what I'm saying is, I don't think he would have survived pulling a gun either.
No, not him, but someone in defense of others in that scenario.
Yeah.
There was a case. Have you ever seen the movie Malcolm X?
Actually, haven't watched that movie.
Really? Because I picked that out when I was in high school. I had no idea what it was. It was just a big movie, a really, really big box. So I knew there was like 4 movies to it. So I got it out. I had no idea what it was about. And the guy goes, "Really? Are you sure?" And I go, "Yeah, what's the big deal?" Then I found out when I got home. But there's this scene where this black guy is beating the crap out of, right? Like severely. In need of immediate medical help, and they just take him to the jail cell so he can die of his wounds inside the jail cell, essentially. And Malcolm X gets a whole bunch of guys together, obviously black, and they all have submachine guns. And he walks into the police station. He says, "You're going to get my friend medical help right now. You're taken to the hospital right now." He goes, "Yeah, what are you going to do about it?" He says, "Look outside." And there's a shitload of guys with a bunch of guns ready to storm the police station. And then they got the guy immediately medical help. Now, I don't know how accurate the movie was to real life, but there's a situation where, I've seen so many crooked cop videos on YouTube, it's ridiculous. And I've had so many run-ins with the cops myself because I'm poor.
See, I had a schoolmate who's dead because he didn't put his gun down fast enough. And actually, there's a young man in my local community who's dead because he didn't put his gun down fast enough.
And Tamir Rice, he had less than 3 seconds to put a gun down.
Yeah, and so that's 2 that I know, and that situation at the Walmart here locally, those cops were told, because of the 911 caller that called in about the guy, they were told essentially that they were walking into an active shooting in which children were being targeted. And so they were not corrupt. They were guys that were going in and trying to protect the public from what they thought was an active shooter. And had there been an active shooter and they gave him time and he shot someone, it would have been, it would have been a totally different set of protests there. But the one that was from my home area, the schoolmate that died, that didn't make the news really much. I mean, it made local news, but it didn't make national news because it wasn't a racial incident. It was a mental health incident, and the officer had been brought back from leave, from having some psychiatric symptoms, and they were shorthanded. And then he found himself in a situation where, again, somebody had called and exaggerated what was going on with the guy with the gun. He was just basically open carrying, and which is within the law. It's legal to open carry.
Yeah. And with Tamir Rice, though, that doesn't make sense because they even called and said it's probably a fake gun. And within 3 seconds of the cops showing up, you don't have enough time to put down the gun. Like, the first reaction you're going to have as a 12-year-old is, "Are you kidding me?" And they didn't even say put it down. It was like, "Put the gun down, put the gun down," and then just shot him.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous. There's no reason for that. It's just, and then they went around the police station. They went around the police station trying to get half the cops to sign off on training he never had.
There was a whole bunch of cops in that incident again, weren't there? That wasn't just one guy, right?
There was, if I have my information correct, there was 3 cops in there, in that car, and one of them didn't have much training, but they claimed he did, and they lied about it, and they tried to cover it up, and I think the other cop shot.
Yeah. So that's a situation where the one guy didn't even have, like, they threw him into a situation they had no business throwing him into.
Right, and then the cops. I mean, the other cops could have. I think one of the cops that did have the training shot him, and then they lied about a lot of stuff to the grand jury, and they hid information. And then okay. Here's another case that I just remembered. In New York, the guy sells a cigarette, and the cop puts his whole weight on the guy's neck.
That's the one where he said he couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So there's definitely a cop issue. Now, in Cincinnati, again, this is strange. I moved down to Cincinnati almost right after the race riots.
You know, actually, that situation, though, was not one in which, again, shooting at the cops would have resulted in necessarily saving that guy, because there were several of them, and if one person shot at them, they would have just turned around and gunned him down.
Maybe.
You know, the minute that somebody draws a weapon, that justifies shooting back. So that would be a situation. See, this is why I say, you know, going after it with firearms, you're not looking at a situation where it's even. You know, if the cops shoot at you first and you shoot back at them, you can still get in trouble for it. But if you shoot at the cops first and they can say you shot at them first, that's all they need to kill you legally.
Yeah, that's sure.
So,
sure. But you know,
again, for the most part, Milo was right. It is stupid, really, to advocate shooting at the cops. It is a dumb idea to advocate that as a solution to problems with the cops.
I disagree, and here's why.
That's not to say that there is never a situation in which somebody might have to defend themselves with a gun against police officers. That's not to say that never will come up, because anything can come up. Any situation can come up. And when you throw corruption into the deal, yeah, that can come up. But to flat out, like the way Black Lives Matter has been doing, to flat out advocate kill cops, yeah, that is stupid. It is a very dysfunctional and very counterproductive narrative. And not only are they generalizing good cops in with the bad cops, but they are also advocating doing something that the vast majority of the time is not going to be an effective approach. It's bad strategy.
Here's why I disagree with that. The number one reason that crooked and corrupt cops continue to plague the police stations is, from what I see, and I could be wrong about this, is because they have no fear of repercussions. They feel that they have the badge, they're the authority, they're going to do whatever they want, and the police department is going to tolerate it and never do anything about it. Because I've seen this.
The thing to advocate is not violence.
Hold on, let me finish, please. Hold on, let me finish. Well, they're oversighting themselves, and until that changes, right? Until that changes, they have nothing to fear. The police need to fear the people more than the people need to fear the police, because then the police will start acting like shit. If I start being a crooked cop, this is going to get out. I'm going to be in trouble. Our lives are going to be in danger.
Actually, I think it's counterproductive to deal in fear in general. You know, it's
well, if it's
fear,
the only thing that's going to hamper it, then
it's not necessarily, though. What ends up happening, if you look at history, the minute the police fear the people, that is when you end up with an increase in police violence. That is what preceded the Rodney King incident. That is what preceded even the incidents that have happened recently.
Well,
is the police fearing the people.
What happened in Cincinnati?
Go
You don't
on.
know? Okay, so in Cincinnati, just before I moved down to Cincinnati, they had a huge race riot. The people were not tolerating the actions of the police, and they made the police know that they weren't going to tolerate the shit anymore. That's when Cincinnati changed. That's why Cincinnati is now known for having such good relations with the people, because they said, look, the shit you're doing is wrong. You're being really racist as shit here. You're locking people up. You're killing people. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. It needs to stop. And they just rioted like crazy throughout Cincinnati.
But it was
Now,
still oversight that made the difference.
well,
not
what changed?
cops.
Well, the first step was fear, right? And then the cops came up with the usual crappy line I keep hearing: "You don't understand. These people are really dangerous." So I believe it was a sheriff who said, "No, no, no. We're going to retrain everybody here." They took him out. They trained the crap out of him for several months. And then what they did was they made 200 arrests when only one person was shot and killed. And the reason that guy was shot and killed was because he pulled out a gun and he aimed it at the cops.
Okay, well then you just demonstrated exactly what I said. That oversight is what works.
Right, but they
And that
didn't do the
shooting at the
oversight
cops,
until there
shooting at
was.
the cops gets you killed.
But they didn't do the oversight until they rioted.
But the riots were protests. They weren't people shooting at the cops. We were specifically discussing shooting at the cops.
I believe there was violence towards the cops and throughout the city. I don't know if they actively, specifically went out and shot the cops. I'd have to look that up. But there was definitely a lot of violence during those riots. My mom was actually afraid of me moving down there.
Well, it is actually, it has for a long time been a very rough community. In fact, it had its own superhero for a while. You know, not like super obviously, but there was a vigilante in a superhero costume.
Really?
Yes. What was his name? Shadowhair.
Shadowhair. I'll have to look it up.
Actually, there's YouTube videos up about Shadowhair still. I think it's been a few years, but yeah, Shadowhair was a thing for a while in Cincinnati, and I don't know if he still is or not.
They say you should dress for the job you want, but when you're sitting in front of HR wearing a Batman costume,
Then they kick you out. Yeah.
it
They
doesn't
had a
always
whole
work.
community. It's kind of interesting because learning about that, I learned that there's actually a whole costumed vigilante community in the United States, that different cities have costumed vigilantes, and that's been a thing for several years. They aren't, they don't necessarily, they're not like Batman, all of them, where they use gadgets and all that kind of thing, but a lot of them carry pepper spray and other non-lethal stopping type weapons. They carry cell phones. They contact police and let people, like a neighborhood watch, let the police know what's going on. And then, like, I've seen video of Shadowhair going around giving food to homeless people. So he's a vigilante, but he's also a community oriented guy. Isn't that pretty neat?
I will say this though. Um, Black Lives Matter. Shooting a black cop does not show that Black Lives Matter.
No, it doesn't. And generalizing the way they do doesn't help either. And chanting, what do we want? Dead cops. When do we want it now? Doesn't indicate to anybody that they are a peaceful movement. And they had an opportunity. They really had an opportunity to get a conversation started. It's like when that hashtag first started and when the movement first started, there were people that were willing. There were a lot of people that were willing to listen to them. There were people willing to acknowledge, yeah, there is a problem. And this was not something that the general public wants to sit around and ignore and let fester. But we're not going to be preached at, and we're not going to be lied to. And Black Lives Matter seems to be intent on doing both. And we're not going to be incited to violence, just general violence against people who, for the most part, dedicate their lives to protecting the public and preserving the peace. The vast majority of police officers are peace officers. They aren't corrupt. They don't do this shit. And it is...
Well, hold on. There is terminology I think I should address here. Um, all law enforcement is labeled under the category of peace officer.
Yeah, when I say peace
peace
officer, I mean a real effort at actually living up to that title, not somebody who just has that title. The vast majority are peace officers, not just are called peace officers.
My experience says otherwise, but that is my anecdotal evidence.
Yeah.
So I will...
Statistically, it's actually a minority among police officers that is engaged.
I keep hearing that, but I keep seeing so many wicked cops.
Well, that's because when a cop does his job right,
it's not like I'm
does his job right, it doesn't make the national news. When a cop,
I'm not even talking about the national news. I don't even watch that. I'm talking about the shitload of people with cams on their dashboard and their cell phones and everything.
Yeah, but nobody ever posts that stuff if they have a nice, nice.
No, they do.
Cops either.
They do. Like InfoWars. There's this cop that I salute, man. He is awesome. He is the bomb. These guys go into the airport to hand out flyers. The guy who runs the airport says, "I want your IDs." He goes, "We don't have to show you our IDs." He asked the cop to show to make them show their IDs. The cop says, "They don't even have to show me their ID. Since they haven't done anything illegal, I can't ask them for their ID." So he really stood up for the First Amendment. I was just loving that.
That's what you get. You get the exceptional situations. You do not get the ordinary, everyday thing that cops are doing. So the vast majority of what a policeman's job isn't showing up on YouTube. You're not seeing every traffic stop. You're not seeing the times that the cops come into a speedway in the middle of the night because a senile elderly person is assaulting the customers and they have to deal with, we have to stop this person without breaking their bones. You don't get any of that. You don't get the officer that came into the store I worked at an hour after, or even, I guess it was really less than that because it seemed like it was only a few minutes after somebody came in with a gun and held up the store and had to deal with the fact that the cashiers were still half panicked and had a rough time talking. You don't get that guy's patience with the witnesses. You don't get them reassuring the witnesses and the victims of the crime that they're going to go get that guy. You get the Boy Scout cop that does something exceptional and that makes, the news because somebody's taping. And you get the cop that does something exceptionally bad. But you don't get the majority of what goes on. That's not on YouTube. It's not going to make the news. So the idea that you can measure what the police are doing and who they are and what kind of people you're dealing with by a few YouTube videos is just, it's bad science.
Well, I'm to be fair, I'm not looking at a few. I've looked at hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds. And I've actively looked. I have actively looked for good cops on YouTube. Now, it may be obscured, but I've also talked to a lot of people who were saying everyone was filming and the cops doing bad things, and they took everybody's recording devices. So if you're recording the police doing something wrong, and you fear that they may take your recording equipment, my advice is to have 2 SD cards in your camera, right? If you're having a camcorder, there's usually it's very accessible to get to your SD card, right? So pop it out and swap another SD card, and then start recording again, so that you'll always have at least some of the evidence, right? For people with cell phones, try to get an app that uploads straight up to YouTube, so that they can't take that evidence away and erase it. I have seen YouTube videos where the guy was recording and the cop tried to erase it from his phone, and his friend found that and undeleted it. But he had to go looking on the hard drive to find it. So what I would love the audience to do is, I would love for you to tell me your good or bad experiences with police officers. especially the good ones, because if Hannah is right and we're not hearing the heroes in blue, then I definitely want to hear those, because I want to see both sides of the story.
Well,
I
and
just
your
ask that
neutral
yours true.
experiences, your everyday experiences, because those are the most experience. Like I've had good and bad experiences with cops, but the majority of my experience with cops has been neither exceptionally good nor exceptionally bad. It's been routine. And in routine isn't something that you are going to hear about on YouTube. Nobody wants to post a video of a routine traffic stop because it's not exciting, it's not interesting, it's just somebody getting a ticket. Big fat hairy deal, right?
Oh, that reminds me. That reminds me. And this is a cop I started out hating, but ultimately loved. And I can't find this video again because it's just, it's deep in YouTube or whatever, and I'm not plugging in the right searches. These guys are walking around and they're filming, and they start filming the police officer. The police officer comes running over to them, barking mad, very angry, threatening them, and whatever. And they start like walking away because they talk the police officer down, saying, "What's your probable cause? What's whatever?" And he can't come up with a good answer, so he gets back on his bike. About 5 or 10 minutes into the video, the cop comes back to him and apologizes for his actions. Like he said, "I'm sorry, I was a little hot tempered. I should have talked to you that way. I'm sorry." I love that cop. He did something wrong. He acknowledged it and he apologized for it. And I thought that was so great, because I don't see cops doing that. It's like I see a lot of authority figures, and they will not acknowledge to any wrongdoing. And I think that's wrong. It's bad. But if someone could at least admit to their mistakes, then they can work on those mistakes, right? And try to better themselves. And for that, I love that cop. I thought that was fan-fucking-tastic. So record cops doing good things. Link them into the comments section. Like, subscribe. Hannah, I don't want to take up any more of your time because you said you have to go to work.
Yeah, I have to leave in about 10 minutes. Ooh. Now, I do have a short good cop story, but it's old.
Okay, doesn't matter.
You might like it. All right. I was 18 months old when I had my first near-fatal asthma attack. And the community my parents lived in did not have a hospital. So they had to drive to the nearest community that did have a hospital that could take care of me. And that was, I guess, about 11, 12 miles away from edge to edge. And now my dad had been an ambulance driver when he and my mom were in college. So he threw us in the car. I'm slung over my mother's shoulder so that, when you're having asthma attack, if your shoulders are down, it takes some of the weight off of your lungs. It makes it easier to try to breathe. So I am slung over my mother's shoulder, and I can remember very little bits about this. I had to be careful not to put my feet on my mom's belly because she was pregnant with my little brother. So in the midst of my asthma attack, I had to be thinking about that. And we're going along at an incredible pace. My dad was doing well over 90 miles an hour. And I could see the lights coming up behind us, and there's a cop. And normally, under that circumstance, you would expect the cop to first pull the vehicle over, and then if the vehicle didn't immediately pull over, to chase and try to stop them. He pulls up beside my dad, and he looks in and he sees me. And I can see him looking at me. And then I see him look at my dad. And I watch him take his hand and make a very dramatic pointing forward motion. So it's up at an angle, and then he slowly brings it down so he's pointing forward. And then he went around in front of us. And he took us through Lima, Ohio. The hospital I went to was St. Rita's. Took me there through traffic light after traffic light. And I'd hear the siren right before the traffic light, right before we go under, and I'd see the traffic light go out behind us. And then I hear the siren again, and I'd see the traffic light go out behind us. And at this point, I was so oxygen deprived that I was stoned. The lights were leaving trails. I had seen, faces in the car window besides our own. It was, I was really in bad shape. And the officer took us all the way. He was not a city cop, but he took us all the way through the city, took us all the way to the hospital, got out of his car, helped my mother out of her seat, helped me, out of mom's arms into the arms of the paramedics, and helped us into the hospital before he stopped, and went on with the rest of his shift. Drove all the way from another community to, so he was well out of his jurisdiction to make sure I was okay. And like that was probably my first ever experience with a police officer.
And that's a good note to end on. So, like I said, like, subscribe, leave comments, leave your stories. I think that's a great. I like leaving on a good note, so I think that's good. And thank you, Hannah Wallen. This has been terrific.
It was great getting to talk to you, and hopefully I'll do it another time.
Yep. Bye bye. Have a good one, everyone.